Joining us right now, he is a sports analytics specialist for FanDuel, also an adjunct professor at Cal Lutheran up there in Thousand Oaks. Ed Egros joins us here on Offside Sports. Ed, thank you so much for the time today. How are you, sir?
Doing very well, doing very well. Enjoying the start of a brand new week and excited to chat.
Okay, I guess the chaos now that is ensuing from the House and the NCAA coming together and basically saying, yeah, schools, here's your kitty of money. You can pay these guys and girls. What has that done, however, to the NIL picture? I'm going to assume it's completely clouded it even more. What's your take on that?
I think it's clouded it a great deal more, and I think we're also going to see the haves continue to have and the have-nots continue to have not. And let me explain why. So, yes, every school has $20.5 million, and they can shell it out however they want across their various programs. Fine. But NIL deals still exist. And the way that student athletes can now make these NIL deals work is by submitting these requests to a clearinghouse called NIL Go. And basically, the thing is, this clearinghouse has to figure out if these NIL deals are on the up and up. And there are a lot of different ways to determine if a student athlete can get paid by any particular company by marketing, promotion, autograph sessions, whatever the case may be. One of those is through this sort of quote unquote algorithm where student athletes must be earning fair value for their particular services. Now, how in the heck do you determine fair value? Well, social media influence can have a lot to do with it. How important that company is, how big that company is, how much work that student athlete is going to be doing for that particular organization. All that matters in terms of how much money they're going to be making. But then also brand awareness comes into this. And so then my question is, well, how in the world do you quantify brand awareness? Because if you're talking about, say, the starting quarterback for Notre Dame football and how much money he should be making, well, chances are that should be a great deal more than, say, your backup linebacker for Purdue football. Brand awareness matters a great deal in terms of determining fair value. And so all of these programs in, say, college football, for instance, that we all know and either love or hate, we're polarized about them, they are still going to be the ones making a ton of money. So Ohio State, Notre Dame, Alabama, these huge brand name programs, they're going to be able to say, you know what? These particular athletes are playing for these huge names. They should be able to make a great deal more money than those who are at smaller schools, maybe haven't had that sort of history of success. And so even though this is supposed to be some way for student athletes to be able to make more money through their name, image, and likeness, at the same time, I think it always goes back to this concern that we've had about college sports for a long time now, and that is this a fair playing field, or is money ultimately going to decide who wins championships?
Hi, Ed. I have a question for you. I know you're a professor teaching sports management. Why is this so important for your students to be learning about the changing landscape with NIL?
It's all about jobs, right? Like the big thing, the big reason why someone goes into a sports management program is to be able to figure out how they can get a job in sports. Because as you know, it is super duper competitive no matter what area you're going into, be it journalism, marketing, PR, coaching, whatever it is. And so how do you find that extra edge? I think one of the ways you do that is by learning about some sort of new age dynamic changing, and then be able to go to a company and say, you know what, I know something about this already. I can help you sort of navigate these new waters. And so when we're talking about NIL, you look at, all the great marketing agencies, that have sort of created, a market unto themselves over the last few years, like Open Doors, Open Sponsorship, Athlete Nation, places like that. Well, you look at the things that they are doing for student athletes in terms of promoting their brand, getting them NIL deals, things like that. It's about what? Social media awareness. Well, younger people are probably better at that than the old fogies. But also video and photo production, branding, graphic design, websites, copywriting, things like that. There are specific things that, because of the college landscape, NIL deals have to be just a little bit different than, say, what you would do for professional athletes or amateurs or most anything else. And so I think knowing NIL and understanding what the differences are are in terms of the ever-changing landscape, especially from a legal perspective, because one important thing here is that from one state to the next, NIL deals are different. And so someone needs to be aware of how this landscape is changing in the legal perspective. And so maybe students need to learn that as well. So there are lots of different ways that I think students can jump into this NIL arena and be able to make money off of it, even if they aren't an athlete.
You know, Ed, I'm one of those guys that is upset with the whole NIL process. Like, I liked it the way it used to be. And usually I'm one of those guys that I like to think this is the way it is now. It's better now. I mean, I'm really upset with Charles and Ed O'Bannon for creating this entire problem. So the thing is, I'm a big college football fan. I love Alabama football. For instance, Alabama, though, with all their history and the winning, they can't compete with Notre Dame and Ohio State when it comes to money. As you just said, there's still the haves and have-nots. You know, we live in Southern California, and Mike and I are San Diego State alums. San Diego State has turned into a minor league football program for guys. Once they do well enough, they move on to the bigger schools. And you always want that opportunity for your team to compete for a championship. So does it change at all with the new ruling, or is there still going to be that opportunity for the crazy boosters at Texas to offer Lamborghinis to say this is the reason why you come here, which in my mind takes away from the whole idea of what's great about sports is team, and then you kind of get out of the team and it becomes more of an individual thing of I'm going to get mine.
I think that's the real concern here, right? Is yes, this clearinghouse exists to be able to make sure that everyone is aware of whatever NIL deals are going on. And the purpose of the clearinghouse is to make sure that boosters can't pay a student athlete under the table with Lamborghinis or whatever your favorite make and model of car might be. So yeah, the concerns are very much there. But again, it goes back to even if things are on the up and let's say like everything is done cleanly and we really don't have issues and back alleyways or what have you. At the same time, there's still that massive discrepancy because what makes a college football program popular? Well, one of the big things is having a history of success, right? There are reasons why those mid-tier programs at Power 4 universities aren't necessarily winning championships, largely because they don't have the history of success and they can't attract a fan base that have been following that particular program for generations upon generations. You know, as an analytics guy, one of the things that I often look at in terms of forecasting which programs are going to be performing well is how have they done in the past? Like, what is your standard win rate for, say, the University of Texas or Ohio State? Usually that's fairly predictive in terms of how those programs will do the following year. Now, in this new landscape, yes, there are exceptions. Like my alma mater, SMU, doesn't necessarily have a history of winning except for a couple of pockets of time. But now they're looking really, really good. In large part, they have those deep coffers in which to tap into to be able to pay student athletes through massive NIL deals. Also, being based in Dallas helps there. But at the same time, though, programs that have done well continue to do well. And the system that we have set in place is likely going to exacerbate those problems. And so how do you fix these things? Well, the last few years look pretty good to me. I understand that you do have to, make some necessary adjustments, but still though, this is a weird place to be when it comes to college football and college sports in general.
Eddie Gross, statistical analyst, for FanDuel, also adjunct professor at Cal Lutheran. Ed, Substack, you've got one, right?
I do. Ed with Sports, edwithsports.substack.com. That's the place where I can opine about all sorts of various analytical endeavors and talk a little hockey, football, anything you want, we got it.
You talk, being where you are with FanDuel and stats analyzing for them, is it to the point now where we as consumers who are we at the point where we're just saying, give us all you have? Can you keep up with the increase in people saying, as important as stats are, fantasy, daily fantasy like FanDuel? I mean, how tough is it staying on the ball, keeping us engaged?
It is challenging, right? At the same time, I think sports leagues, in particular Major League Baseball, have done a really good job as far as unveiling new statistics, being able to sort of stay in the news cycle, so to speak. For instance, baseball not that long ago through StatCast, they're now talking about batting stance, the way that batters swing the bat, in terms of angle and things like that.
Yeah.
There's always new information and new data that can be unveiled. And I think we're really craving that stuff. If it's from a betting perspective, because maybe you feel like you can find an edge edge, although sometimes that edge can be fleeting because
Right.
then everyone else figures it out. But I think having new stats can matter a great deal in terms of, keeping folks interested and then utilizing that however they want to.
Just keep it coming, man. Keep it coming. Ed, appreciate the visit. We'd love to have you back on as the professional amateur seasons start to open up here in the fall.